Yes, 9:30, 1380 KCIM. Let's start a little KCIM Sports Rewind. Sports Director Jeff Blankman, Assistant Sports Director Casey Miners, and, well, me. I'm just hanging out here for the next half hour, so we'll see how this goes. All right, so we got a ton of stuff, a lot of little things to talk about today.
Yeah.
Kind of cleaning up the whole winter sports season, looking ahead to college basketball madness. The tournament's coming up, and that should be a heck of a good time.
Yeah.
But I want to talk, I'll start with this one. Kirk Cousins, my Vikings the other day. I mean, the second free agency hit, Atlanta Falcons goes out and gives a 35-year-old quarterback coming off an Achilles tendon tear.
Yep.
$180 million over 4 years.
Yeah.
That, to me, was insane.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, $30 million signing bonus and what was it, $100 million?
$100 million guaranteed. Yeah.
Yeah, so good luck for him and good luck for Atlanta. Yeah.
It's a division he can go down and win, though.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I would say that I'm surprised with the amount of money they gave him. You know, I've always been a Kirk Cousins supporter.
Right.
Everybody that's hated on him, I've always been a supporter. But so I think that he's going to go do good things in Atlanta now that Atlanta finally has a quarterback that they can throw their young stars. Because you don't spend 3 straight drafts, top 10 picks on a running back, a wide receiver, and a tight end, and not want to get some production out of them.
Mm-hmm. I don't have a problem. Like I said, the 4 years, that was like, dude's going to be 40 years old by the time this contract runs out, and $180 million. Well, I'm more than happy for Kirk Cousins, and he made some incredible throws.
Right.
I mean, he is incredibly accurate. Not sure that he's the championship guy.
Right.
Though, so that was the knock on him in Minnesota, was that, how good is he really? He always got you 8, 9, 10 wins a year, if not a few more, but very few playoff wins to go along with
4,
that.
I think, at his time in Minnesota.
Yeah.
So
the question is, you mentioned the championship quarterback, and you hear the same thing with guys like Dak Prescott and Josh Allen and some of those guys. But how many true championship quarterbacks are actually in the NFL? There's not enough of them for every team to have one. So
Chiefs win it every year.
Yeah, well, yeah, but I look at that sometimes, and I'm like, Dallas Cowboy fans are upset, and everybody wants Dak gone, and I'm like, what? Sometimes be happy winning 10, 11, 12 games every year.
It's not always brighter on the other side.
Because you may end up getting rid of Dak Prescott and end up signing somebody that doesn't win you 4 or 5 games, because there's not that many quarterbacks out there that even win 10 to 12, games a year. Well, there's not that many great quarterbacks.
Look at Matthew Stafford. He spent like 10, 12 years just being pummeled in Detroit. Gets traded to the Rams. Boom.
Right.
Wins a Super Bowl. And now you've got the guy they traded for, Jared Goff. They traded him
who's come on
for Detroit, and now they're one of the maybe Super Bowl contenders of this. But I'm interested to see what the Vikings do now that they have salary cap space. They have the extra space going on in the year. Just build a roster.
Too bad Russell Wilson's off the market, right?
I really don't know if the Vikings want any. I mean, they signed Sam Darnold gave him a 1-year deal. I really don't know if the Vikings want anybody else in the quarterback market. I wouldn't be surprised if they go and try to trade up or draft somebody.
So I'm sure. I just had to joke about Russell Wilson. So
honestly, I would have taken Russell Wilson as a bridge quarterback.
Right.
I mean, that would have been fine with me. But see what the Vikings do in the draft, whether they want to trade up to get their guy, or if they think their guy is like a Michael Penix, they can get him at 11, or even trade down and get him still, or someone of that caliber. J.J. McCarthy from Michigan's always been the one out there that they've talked about. Who knows?
I keep hearing that he's going to go in the top 3, that it's going to be 3 quarterbacks.
I've heard that.
McCarthy goes 3. Whoever the GM is that drafts him at 3 needs to be fired.
People said the same thing about Tom Brady when he was drafted in the 7th round.
But I'm just, it's time for Kwesi Adofo-Mensah and Kevin O'Connell. Like, just do your thing.
Right.
You were hired to do this. Let them do it. Just so put your players in and see how it goes.
Yep. Agreed.
It couldn't be any worse.
No. Agreed.
Yeah. So Kirk Cousins, more power to him, man. That dude has cashed in.
Yeah.
$160 million, I think, from the Vikings. $180 million from the Falcons.
Yeah.
Not to mention the stuff he won. The money he made in Washington.
What did the cap bounce up this year? 12% or something like that.
$50 million or something like that. Yeah. So they were.
absolutely. The money that these guys can make nowadays, getting to those next levels it's crazy.
I just like to play one season on a minimum, on a like a veteran's minimum.
Yeah. Well, you look at the Russell Wilson situation going from Denver to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's going to pay him $1.21 million, and Denver's going to be stuck with like $39 million. Yeah. So it's just absolutely crazy.
And I'm sure he's probably got incentive-laden deals out there, with the Steelers and stuff. Yeah, it wouldn't shock me if he plays a couple more years just on deals like that because he can afford to. The Broncos are paying him for the next 2 years on all that stuff. So.
And his wife still makes $1 or $2 too. So
yeah, Sierra, whatever. Yeah. Free agency. It's just kind of begun in the NFL, so it's going to be interesting to see that going forward. College basketball, of course, getting to the tournament time. Love this time of year. Your Huskers, man. I thought they were going to take Iowa down. That first half in the women's Big 12 championship game, Huskers looked like the far superior team. Yeah,
led the vast majority of that game, but didn't lead at the end and, had some chances. But tip your cap to Iowa. They made plays down the stretch of the regular,
as you'd expect them to do.
Yep, absolutely. Nebraska couldn't get a shot to go. If they'd have hit maybe one more bucket in regulation, maybe it doesn't go to overtime. But like I said, tip your cap, to Iowa and their comeback.
I mean, Iowa won the quarterfinal, the semifinal game handily, but they struggled in both halves in the first two games, so it wasn't surprising to see them down, 11 at halftime. But Caitlin Clark going from having 4 at half to finishing with 34. Talks about the second half that she had.
Yeah, that was probably the roughest first half I've seen her play. I haven't seen a ton, but I mean, she's averaging over 30 points a ball game and still to hit over 30 in that game. But it all had to come at crunch time, second half and overtime.
I will say this, though, took her 29 shots to score 34 points in that championship game. So
she wasn't on like she normally is.
Yep. The Nebraska defense, I from the start kind of in that second half, especially the fourth quarter, even the first game that they met over at Iowa City kind of held her in check for about 3 quarters, and then she went off on them.
Lincoln.
Yeah, and in Lincoln they held her in check. So there was something about the defensive game plan they do. I mean, you can't hold a great player like that down for a whole game, but something about their defensive game plan seems to hold her in check for a good portion of each game that they meet. So, I tip my cap to the Huskers. Finished 4th in the conference in the regular season, and hopefully they can make a run in the NCAA tournament.
I told you Sunday when we were doing the rewind thing that I said I just don't like them. For some reason, Nebraska's style where they play does not fit Iowa. It does not match up with Iowa well. I just don't like the matchup, and happened for the first 3.5 quarters.
Yep.
So also SEC championship game was between LSU and South Carolina. We all know what happened there. The bench carrying brawl, basically. So that happens. Do you think Iowa gets back to the Final Four this year? I honestly don't know. There's so many good teams out there now, including South Carolina, who looks untouchable.
Struggled, though, to win their semifinal round game. Had to bank in a three-pointer. Time expired. What was it? Their first three-pointer of the year for the ladies.
Yes, the lady that made that was her first 3 of the year. And we talked about this. If they would have played defense, South Carolina probably doesn't win the SEC championship game.
Yeah. So I picked it before the season, and I know I threw down a little fun bet with Jeff Storyhan on it because he thinks I'm nuts. But I said it before the season started that Iowa will win the national championship because you're going to have the best player on the floor every single game, and she will do what it takes to get you to the national championship. So I think they just more than get back there. I think they win it this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it'd be interesting to see who they play in the Elite Eight or the Final Four.
Yeah.
Because I think right now I looked last night and they have UCLA projected to be in their region as the 2 seed.
Yep.
I think if they got to play a USC that's going really strong right now, and my fear, like what we saw happen in the Big Ten championship game, is that if Caitlin has a bad night, the other girls didn't step up that much.
Oh, they did, especially on the defensive side.
Yeah.
Kate Martin hit the 3 in the corner that kind of helped ignite you guys a little bit. Yeah.
I just worry about Caitlin having a bad night, then not everybody else wanting to.
She's got all her bad nights out in the Big Ten tournament because she didn't shoot it well in the Big Ten tournament for most of the games.
I hope.
Yeah, I kind of question what they have down low as compared to what Cisnano they had last year.
Right.
Are they as good this year down low? And when it comes to those,
I don't think this team. I think last year's team was better. I just feel like that Iowa's going to win it.
I think if you talk to most Iowa fans, they probably agree with you. Last year's team was better just between Cisnano and Clark. I mean, Stokey will get there.
Yep.
I mean, she averages over 14 a game, but she's not what Sonano was at this point in her career, only a sophomore. But
I think South Carolina is clearly, with what they've done all season long, is the best team in women's college basketball. I just think it's really hard to go undefeated, and they ran into that last year when they got into the semifinals. And that would be my thought for them is that it's just too difficult to go through an entire season undefeated.
Now it'll be interesting to see what happens, because I heard something that all the players that got ejected in that game are suspended.
They shouldn't be able to play probably that first game.
First or the second first 2 games. So it'll be interesting to see the round of 32 of how it happens.
Right, yeah. If there's an 8 seed out there that might be able to.
That's what I'm saying. I would be worried if I'm both LSU and South Carolina about that second round matchup if I can't play with the girls that are ejected, because there's like 13 girls combined that were ejected in that game.
I think 6 of them off the LSU bench.
Yeah.
So they're not going to have a lot of depth.
And fan. That's crazy.
It's going to be a lonely bench over there for, was it Kim
Mulkey?
Kim Mulkey.
She might have to strap the uniform back on and go out and play.
She probably would, too.
Yeah.
And I guarantee we'll have sequences on it somewhere.
Yes.
But how about Iowa State making the championship run for their second consecutive Big 12 championship? They take on Texas later on tonight. Audie Crooks is just, so it's a totally different player from a Caitlin Clark, but he plays the game in such a great way that I think I heard somebody say she's the new face of the big center,
right?
Like that the Big 12 has always had.
Yep.
She's the new power player in the Big 12.
Well, and the fun thing is you've heard about her since she was about in the 6th grade.
Yeah.
So it's
a dominant player in high school.
Been fun to watch her kind of grow and develop and stuff throughout the years, and now to see her go to Iowa State, because I know a lot of people, including myself, I never doubted her talents, but at the high school level, she was just so much better than everybody.
She was a lot bigger than everybody.
They just lobbed the ball into her, and she caught it at the rim and scored, and nobody could defend her there. And you were like, you heard about the skills she had in AAU, but you hadn't really seen a lot of those because she didn't have to show off all the skills that she had. And now she gets to Iowa State, and she's gotten that opportunity to show off all the skills that she has.
I gotta watch her play her sophomore year at Bishop Garrigan when they played St. Ed's. And she had 20 and 20 that night. Yep. And I was amazed. I'm like, but at the same time, like you just said, I mean, you didn't really know how good she was because she's 6'3", she's a lot bigger and taller than everybody else, So, but what she's doing at Iowa State is amazing.
Yeah.
25 points the other night. We'll see. Texas pretty much handled Iowa State earlier this year by almost 20 points.
Right.
Not that long ago. So
playing for a 1 seed.
Yep.
Yeah. And of course they beat the number 1 seed Oklahoma, and now they beat the 4 seed to Baylor, and now they have the 2 seed in Texas coming up later on tonight. As we get to the Big 10 men and the Big 12 men's tournaments, what do you give Iowa State and Iowa chances for? Let's start with Iowa. Give them any chances to make a run?
I think they can beat Ohio State, but they got to play Illinois again, and Illinois I don't know, both times did not give Iowa a good matchup. I don't know. They can shoot it from the outside. They got Coleman Hawkins down low. I think that they can play them better the second time if they get past Ohio State, which they already beat Ohio State this year. But like you said, it's tough to beat 2 teams twice, even 3 times. So
and Ohio State's playing pretty good basketball right now. They won 6 of their last 7.
I'm not sure. They're the 10.
Yeah, but they've been playing much better. Iowa's going to have to shoot it really well. They don't defend real well, so they're just going to have to shoot the basketball really well. The question will be, do they even have an outside shot if they make a run in the Big Ten tournament? Can they squeeze their way into the NCAA tournament? Because right now I think
if they can knock off Illinois, I think that's going to help a lot.
Yeah.
Need to make at least the semifinals?
I would say championship game.
I would say championship game probably to get in there. By the way, just wanted to pass this on. Jeff Hondel just texted. Audie Crook, he covered her for us, not covered her, but watched her down at state track with throwing when he was down there covering the throwers for us. And he said her footwork when she was throwing was just absolutely amazing. And you see that on the basketball court as well.
Yeah, she's a terrific athlete for sure. Iowa State going to finish second in the Big 12. I mean, they've got that number 2 seed going into the Big 12 tournament. They don't play till Thursday night. They play either Texas or K-State. If I'm them, I'm thinking Iowa State. I'd rather play Texas than I would K-State.
Yeah, Texas is playing really good right now.
Yeah,
that's all I'm saying. That might be a little biased.
I figured I'd let the Longhorn fan respond.
They're playing really good. It's hit or if Tyrese plays good, we're a tough team to beat. I mean, he had 31 against Oklahoma on senior night on Saturday. So Texas is playing good. I think
Iowa State.
Iowa State gives us troubles.
Yeah.
Their defense
smothering
with the way it is, and it did for the first 30 minutes that we played them in Austin this year. It gave us troubles. But I think we're playing really well right now. If I'm Iowa State, I'd probably want to rather play Texas because I've only seen them once this year compared to playing Kansas State 3 times.
Right.
But that's just my bias. I think Texas can get by Iowa State, but that's just me.
I think anybody can get by anybody
in that conference.
Big 12. Because they just beat up on each other.
I just don't want to play
Houston.
There's no way I want to play Houston right now.
Right. Yeah.
I don't want any part of them.
And I got to go back to the Big Ten for just a moment, just because of the Iowa State ties a little bit. But Fred Hoiberg and the job he did at Nebraska this year to finish 3rd in the regular season in the Big Ten and get the double bye when just a couple of years ago they were a 5-6 win program. He got to Nebraska and there was a lot of hoopla about what he was going to be able to do on the national level there, and came in with that system he used at Iowa State and it didn't work, and you give him kudos. Going into last season he realized that I've got to throw that to the side and I've got to completely revamp everything we're doing here. I've got to play a different style and get different type of athletes in here, and he's done that. And now in 2 years they've last year almost made the NCAA tournament, and this year they should probably be a lock right now to get in.
And give the administration a lot of credit, too.
Staying with him.
Just staying with him and having confidence in him. And sometimes, 2-3 years and your system's not working out. Well, we're going to try something else. Now you're going to try something else somewhere else.
Right.
So that just kudos to Nebraska for keeping him on the bench.
Yeah, and speaking of coaches let go, and I know it's not in anywhere in our area, but did you guys see the thing going around on social media yesterday with the Utah State women? They fired their head coach right after the game yesterday, and then she had to go into the press conference and be interviewed. And one of the questions to her, I think it might have been the very first question, because they won just 5 games this year, and she'd been there 4 years and didn't have a winning season or a winning record. But the very first question, I think, was, so what are you going to do to rebuild for the future? And she says, well, I'm not going to be rebuilding. I just got let go. So she has to announce her own firing at the press conference. And she looks at the moderator and she goes, I'm guessing that'll be the only question, and got up and walked out.
Can't blame her for that at all.
Yeah,
you got to look at the administration and go, what are you thinking?
Yeah. You have the conversation with her before she goes into the media room.
Yeah.
And then you even allow her to go in. That's the questionable thing of it. I mean, how do you fire somebody and then make them have to go in and answer questions?
The athletic director should have been there to answer that question.
Yep, absolutely. And one other really cool, sad but cool story: the Georgetown women in basketball. They lost their coach in October, died of cancer and stuff, but battled through with an interim coach this year. They weren't picked to finish very high in the conference in the Big East. Won 22 games this year and made it all the way to the Big East championship game before getting beat by UConn last night. So what a story that is for that group of kids to kind of rally around that situation. They dedicated the season to their coach again, who passed away in October, and had a heck of a year, and hopefully get themselves into the NCAA tournament.
Yeah. Speaking of the tournament, got the bracket challenge coming up.
Yes.
That's on the way. Carpet One, our sponsor this year, so we got even more prizes. We're going to be doing. Everybody out there can enter up to 10 times.
Yes.
I'm thinking, I don't know if I have the patience to fill out 10 brackets.
Oh, I always do.
Yeah.
But you can hit quick pick, just kind of like a lottery ticket, and it'll just randomly select your tournament for you there if you want to do that, just to be able to get into it. But we had a little
starts tomorrow, right?
No, Selection Sunday.
Oh, Selection Sunday. Okay.
Once we have the NCAA tournament brackets announced, the contest will open, and you'll be open until next Thursday, like the 21st. Okay. So you have that chance. You have all those 4 days to get entered into it. And last year we did a VIP one with just the staff. Linda Dukes took everyone down by making all of her guesses according to the color of their uniforms. So I am not making this up.
And I have to tell you,
she picked all the blue teams.
She called me out this morning as I was walking in here. She goes, so what's this I hear you guys are making fun of me on the radio? And I looked at her and I said, not me. Yeah, not me or whatever. And she says, well, I heard you're talking about me. But she goes, I won. And I says, that's all that matters, right? Doesn't matter how you win. It's how you win, right?
Yeah, it's like, anybody else who knows anything about college basketball, and Linda's one of those, yay sports, and picked on the basis of color, and it worked for her.
And it worked for her great.
I give her mad props for all of that.
Seems to happen in everything, because my family does a football pick 'em every year, and it seems like the person that doesn't watch college football always ends up winning that thing.
Yeah. Now, speaking speaking of bracket challenges, we'll be doing ours with our area basketball coaches and with the guys that announced in our Rewind team here this year as well. And Clive Clark won last year. I remember that because he brought the trophy back with him on Sunday for the All-Star event. And what I had to laugh because this is what he walked up. He goes, "I'm planning on winning in this and getting it back, but I thought I would bring it back." So Clive going into this feeling pretty confident. So good for him. Yeah.
Right. I'm trying to look forward to maybe winning this one and having Jeff win the toilet trophy. So we have two of them sitting side by side, 2 championship trophies and 2 toilet trophies.
If I remember correctly, I think Mr. Hawcap has our toilet trophy.
Oh, that's
right. If I remember correctly, Mr. Tom Hawcap took last year.
So we will find out more about that coming up. We're going to talk about the All-Star festivities going on, some news and notes about the Boys State Basketball Tournament that's coming up next here on KCIM Sports Rewind.
As the athletes at your house prepare for hard work and fun of the season, remember that St. Anthony Rehab Services provides physical therapy for any sports injury that may sideline your member of the team. Sports injuries can plague kids of all ages and keep them from playing the sport they love. Athletes will be under the direct supervision of a certified and licensed healthcare professional in the newly renovated sports performance facility. If an injury is keeping your athlete out of the game, call St. Anthony Rehabilitation Services at 794-5000 for sports injury and treatment rehab.
KCIM Sports Rewind with Sports Director Jeff Blankman, Assistant Sports Director Casey Miners, and me. All right, I forgot the trivia question.
You did? Yeah, what is it?
See, I don't have a good one today, so don't expect a real head scratcher here. But we're going to go with let's see, the Royals.
Okay.
The Kansas City Royals are planning on leaving Kauffman Stadium by 2028, which I thought Kauffman is one of the best stadiums out there.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely love watching games down there. Yeah.
It is one of the nicest facilities, but they are leaving. I think they're trying to build a little closer to downtown, if I'm not mistaken. There's 5 other ballparks older than Kauffman Stadium, 3 in the AL, 2 in the National League.
Okay.
One of those stadiums. That's our trivia question.
I know 2 for sure. But.
Yeah, I think I know 2 for sure.
There's 2 gimmies out there for sure.
Yeah.
But there's 3 other ones we got a name for that one. So All-Star festivities happened on Sunday. Tell me about it.
Went well. I had a lot of fun. It was really fast this year. I mean, we were done in right about 2 hours and stuff. We made a few tweaks to how we did things and stuff that sped things up. But I think the kids that were able to make it had a really good time. I will throw an apology out, and I know most of them still not back. But I scheduled it on a bad weekend, and we'll have to make sure not to do that next year. We had a lot of schools are on spring breaks. We had a lot of families on vacation. And they took off last Friday after school got out. So we had quite a few kids. It was also the same weekend as State AAU volleyball and State AAU wrestling. We had a dance competition that was going on. So we probably had about 30 kids that were off doing something else that weren't able to attend that I think would have been there.
Yeah.
Isn't it insane that a lot of that stuff? I mean, like the volleyball and stuff like that, not in season, but the AAU seasons are going constantly.
Yeah. The crazy thing with volleyball AAU and club stuff is literally like the very week after the regular season state volleyball tournament ends, the AAU season starts. So they don't get a break. They don't get any time off. It's right into it. But yeah. So anyways, back to Rewind. I thought it went really well. Sarah Bontrager won our 3-point shooting contest. We had a lot of the wrestlers participate in that, and we saw some behind the back and through the legs and some snaps and lots of different ways to try and shoot 3-pointers, but it was all in fun.
Yeah, we had a little bet going on how many Jake Earlbeck and Cooper Ludwig would hit as a tandem, and they only hit 1. So.
Yep, the over-under was 2, and they made 1. Luckily, it wasn't the last ball on the rack, because that would have given them 5.
Yeah.
And they would have got it. Speaking of that, Eric Noggle and Craig Rowetter had a shoot-off, and Rowetter made 3 shots, but they were all the single basketball.
Yeah, Noggle only needed 1.
Made 1, and it was the 5-pointer. So Noggle ended up, winning that shoot-off between the two of them. So I want to give a second here, too, to thank the kids. Sam Vadami's kids came down and rebounded, and Rowetter and Brian Kraft and Corey Meyer, and I'm trying to think who else was down on the end that you were down on.
Craig and Eric were.
Yep.
Emma Grossman came down.
Emma Grossman came out. So, but we always need kids to rebound and track down the loose ball so that we can keep the thing rolling and we're not have to run around after each round and track the balls down and everything. So it was great to have people come down out of the stands, and thanks to everybody that came out. So we'll tweak it next year so that we put it on a better weekend where we can get more kids to attend. I was amazed at how many kids texted me on like Saturday to go, hey, I'm not going to be able to be there tomorrow. Remember, because they had already told me I've got an event on this week. I'm in a dance competition or I've got volleyball, but thank you for the awards and everything. So yeah.
I thought it went really well. Yep. I think everybody that was there had a lot of fun, and thanks to everybody that came out.
And the dodgeball tournaments are always a riot. Yes. So the basketball one, we ended up going 3-on-3. We played 3-on-3 half court because we only had 6 kids that were available to play. Yeah. So hopefully next year we'll have a few more numbers for that. So. Yeah.
All right. So All-Star festivities, a fun time. State boys basketball, you had some news and notes about that.
Yeah, I just wanted to share a couple of things. Last week I kept kind of announcing every time Hudson would play how Camden Davis did. He seemed to have a pretty big game almost every game. If everybody doesn't know who Camden Davis is, that would be Kim Davis, or Kim McCaffrey Davis, his son, and stuff. And he had a tremendous run down at the state tournament. If I remember right, in the semifinals, he was the one that hit the free throws that clinched the game late when they came back, that sent him into the championship game, and then had a really nice championship game as well. And then Brian Rickey was on the Valley staff, and they ended up winning the state championship in Class 4A. So some local ties there to things, even though we didn't have a local team. And then also, if I failed to mention last week, and I may have, they honored the 74 Manila girls basketball team as the 50-year champion at the girls state basketball tournament.
Nice.
The week before down there. I just happened to be down there on Saturday night and saw several of the old players and a few that I recognized and stuff.
For the girls,
stuff, and that they got honored at halftime of the championship games down there. So
I'll be honest with you, I didn't really follow any of the boys since we didn't get anybody down there. Was any surprises during the whole run of the tournament?
Not really.
I think the only surprise was
Underwood.
Well, Underwood was a little bit of a surprise. I talked to some people that were there that was like, Underwood kind of maybe hadn't seen, besides Trainer, anybody like that all year long, and it kind of caught him off guard. I think the thing that surprised me was the 2A field is really deep, because I still think South Central, Calhoun, Esac, and Kemper, if they'd have gotten down there, would have competed very well, because I think there's a lot of really good 2A teams. But Western Christian just ran through that tournament, beat everybody by 20-some. Wow. And it was shocking to me how much they dominated down there at the state tournament. Yeah.
So that kind of wraps up everything with our winter sports season. We're ready for spring. Oh, you did want to mention something about the swimming team. Yeah,
swim and the spring sports and everything. So, we do the rewind event. We do that after the spring, the summer, the winter, and the fall sports seasons. We're going to now add something. We're not going to do another rewind event. It would just be too difficult to do with the 4 sports in the spring. But we're going to start naming a rewind, like boys track athlete, girls track athlete, boys golfer, girls golfer, those things. We're going to start naming an athlete of the year for those, and we'll do the same thing for the girls swim season and the same thing for the boys swim season, coming up here in the fall and the winter next year. So we're going to kind of start looking at doing those things and stuff. So not going to hold another rewind event per se, but we're going to kind of involve them in the rewind stuff a little bit more than maybe what we've done in the past.
I just thought it would. I think with the questions we've gotten about other sports, and we've been trying to find ways to incorporate, make sure that all of our kids, get that same coverage. I think that this is a really good idea, especially in the spring season, because we don't have that rewind event. To do our male and female athletes of the year for soccer and track and tennis and golf is a great idea.
You bet. And then one other thing, just wanted to announce here real quick, posted it this morning, that all of the boys basketball postseason honors, all conference, all district, all state, all that stuff was posted at 8 o'clock this morning for all 10 of our area schools.
I'd take the whole All-Star thing a little bit farther. Let's do one in the pool. Let's have the wrestlers and the offensive and defensive linemen in football. Let's have them swim, an individual medley relay or something.
That could be quite interesting.
That could be entertaining, I would think. So well, maybe you think about that one. All right, so trivia question. Royals leaving Kauffman Stadium. I find that hard to believe. It was built in 1973. There are 5 stadiums older than that. Obviously, there's 2 kind of gimmies going on there.
Boston and the Cubs, right?
Yeah, Boston and then Wrigley, of course. What are the other ones?
Is it where the Dodgers play?
Yep, Dodger Stadium.
Dodger Stadium.
That's the 3rd oldest. That was built in 1962.
I'm trying to think of old stadiums.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am too.
One is about to be irrelevant as they move into a new stadium we were talking about earlier.
Would be the A's.
Oh, the Oakland A's.
Yep.
Yeah, I forget about them because they're going to be in
Coliseum.
Vegas. Yeah.
There was another California facility.
San Diego?
No.
Was it San Francisco's?
Nope. No, they just built theirs.
That one's, yeah. Is it where the Angels play?
There you go. California Angels. It's Angel Stadium, built in 1966 as well. So there you go.
I kept thinking of teams out east. I'm like, no, Philadelphia is new. I kept kind of.
Yeah, everybody kind of going to that whole new stadium build kind of thing. Kauffman Stadium, I didn't know if they were ever really going to build a new one there because it's last time I was there, it's been a number of years, but it was beautiful. It was a great place to watch a game.
I think they've done a nice job of keeping it up. I think the thing that I really like, it's kind of like when I go out to watch Nebraska play out at Northwestern. It was so small in a way that it's just hard to find a bad seat in the house. So it's no matter where you sit at Kauffman, it just seemed like you had a really good seat.
Yeah, we took a bus tour there we went from Winter, South Dakota, actually Chamberlain, South Dakota, on a bus, got 2 flat tires outside of Sioux Falls on our way to Kansas City. Had to sit there and wait to have the tires changed. Got to Kansas City just in time for the game. Sat through the game and 3 rain delays, and finally made it to the hotel like at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Oh my God!
Oh man, that was one of the most
sounds like
trips.
A fun trip. Yeah.
Oh, it was miserable all the way around. But anyway, that is KCIM Sports Rewind for this week. Next Tuesday morning, 9:30, the time to be right here on KCIM Carroll.
Western Iowa's new